Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're taking another look at a legendary set of armor for the Pyro this time. And this is the Reforged set. I've had my eye on it for a while. First look at the three-piece combination here. Increase Feed the Flames damage by 50% and Thermal Bomb's explosion by 50%. I'm going to talk about how I feel about this, as well as how it's opened my eyes to possible hybrid options that could really shift the meta if done correctly. Experimentation is needed. But if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, tick that little bell, as it really helps tremendously. And we're going to dive into what I'm using. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, the Reforged set, spoiler alert, is terrible. Feed the Flame, increase damage 50%. What are you doing? That's just going to tickle the enemies. That does really nothing for you in the DPS category. Now, if that was like a 50% cooldown reduction, yo, that could be huge. Alone, even without the Thermal Bomb option, it could be great for a Volcanic Round build. And that's exactly what I think the set is designed to do, because you'll see long-range damage, and just everything about this makes me think that this is a design for Volcanic Rounds, Feed the Flames, and Thermal Bomb. And that's exactly what I do, but I know you could probably experiment and create an epic build that can transcend whatever this thing ever had, and it could be amazing. The fact that I can do gold T15s solo with this is impressive. So I can only imagine what you could reach, and feel free to get involved in the comment section below and tell me how you would build this better. But let's start with the build itself. Double Fun comes on it naturally. Not a big fan of this one. Generally, I stay away from it because Thermal Bomb's damage is just too situational, and it really needs a lot of mods to really get some burst out of it. But given the fact that we get the 50% damage, I said, hey, let's try it out. I still would probably opt out of it if I could. I put Sharp Eye on there, so I've got a little bit of burst out of my weapon, because again, we are a hybrid between Anomaly power and Firepower. A perfect example of why this build doesn't do well is we got a max health primary stat there, not great. The chest piece, we got Branded. This is the debuff capabilities of Thermal Bomb. So any enemy I hit with a Thermal Bomb is going to take 40% more damage from all sources, making it great for squads and solos. And if I have a second Thermal Bomb equipped, that's 80% stackable. And if you consider the split with Double Fun, we could put a lot of hurt around. And then we have Bullet Absorption, where we replenish 33% of the ammo in our magazine for every enemy affected by the skill. With my pants, I have Flame Grasper, and it enables the absorption of 2 additional targets. If you're putting that together, that's an entire mag replenish with 1 activation, and I think that's great. Moving down here to the pants, we have Captain Hunter on here too. So I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the enemies, the animals, are very rough to fight and kill. Like the Broodmother are just a pain getting into those crit spots, but the actual captains and the humanoid enemies, the Ironclads, those guys melt very easily. So I think this is a great asset for your build, because that's about one of the only things that are going to kill you in this. The build is kind of squish, but not overly squishy, and it's okay. So we're going to start putting more DPS in here so we get our hybrid build together. So we're aiming for Firepower, long range, a little bit of CDR, Fire Frenzy for our second Thermal Bomb, and Susceptibility. I'm experimenting with it. I'm not sold on it yet. I wanted to see if it would be pretty good. I thought it was a tier 3 mod. It's got to have a place. Come on, it's the only Volcanic Round tier 3 mod. And more testing is needed. For the boots, I have Emergency Stance, as that's a go-to defensive option in the game right now. Bullet Kindling, which procs with Volcanic Rounds, which we should try to keep with permanent uptime. So naturally, we're just doing 20% more damage with our pew-pews, which is wonderful. So the skills, as I mentioned, are Volcanic Rounds, which we're trying to keep with permanent uptime. Feed the Flames is going to be something we pop every once in a while for a little bit of Interrupt, Ash, and of course healing and keeping our rounds up. And then Thermal Bomb is our source of slight AoE influence with explosions and damage to enemies nearby, and ultimately debuffs on some of the tankier enemies. Now, promise you won't scream. The skill tree. Now this is a little bit everywhere, okay? And this is all intentional. This is my design. So we're going to do a combination of Anomaly power, weapon damage, and any sort of way to influence and inflate that. So if you're going to go through here, you're going to see we have Anomaly power, we have with fire and rifle. So anytime I cast Thermal Bomb, I get 35% more weapon damage, coupled with Inferno bullets, where my firepower is naturally just going to be increased by 15% of Anomaly power. Again, this is a hybrid build. It's opened doors in ways that I haven't thought of before, and I think it's really great because of it. We're going over here, and you're going to see a few ticks into weapon damage, anomaly damage, and a couple of these gifted options where we get a bit of both. We have cooldown reduction on all of our skills by 10%, extinction to really kind of put the nail in the coffin of weak enemies. All guns blazing, 7 seconds after using a skill, we get weapon damage by 20%. Now, we got a lot of skills. Thermal Bomb's on a good cooldown. We can keep that up for most of the run. Incinerate's not really going to do too much for us, but that Ash every once in a while can come in handy with some of the elites. You're going to see a couple sources of weapon damage right here, some piercing, and then Hot Situation I think is really, really cool because Feed the Flames is on a moderately acceptable cooldown, and anytime I pop it, we get a 45% increase to Anomaly power, which will in fact affect everything else, and everything just gets stronger with that combination. I also have Assault Master up here because that's what I'm aiming for. I could have obviously gone for some other options if I wanted to, but I'm a big fan of the assault weapons, and I wanted them to hit stronger, and that's the skill tree. Now, I'm going to talk about why this set is not very good, but it's really opened up my ideas to experimentation and thinking that potentially hybrid builds can shift the entire meta, but it might take some work, and it's just a dream for now. So the set itself, not very good. I think we've covered that. Reforged is a cool concept, but if they were reworked and maybe added Feed the Flames to cooldown reduction instead of 50% of something that's weak, which really makes no sense. Thermal Bomb itself being even stronger helps, but a lot of times, even in solos, Thermal Bomb's not going to, singular Thermal Bomb, even with all the buffs on, is not going to kill a surrounding enemy, and it just seems very lackluster in this setup. Even when it's full bottom tree, Thermal Bomb just doesn't seem to hit very hard, and it's still situational. You got to make sure enemies are near when it goes off, and I'm just not a fan of it in general. But what it has done is it's opened my eyes to the capability of a really good set. So if I wanted to keep this skill tree and mix up the skills, add on Thermal Bomb with just Branded, get rid of Double Fun and all the other options so I can use it as a single target debuff for bosses and obviously squad play, and keep on Volcanic rounds. Maybe find an alternate way to keep my rounds up. I know there's been a lot of different variants and ways people do it. Perpetuum Mobile is one that I like on my Lucky Jinx. You can go through Toxic rounds again with the Lucky Jinx and something like Toxic Lead for 40%. That's something that could be absolutely wonderful. Or you could stick to Feed the Flames if you want. And that's completely up to you. I think Feed the Flames really just being as a source of utility and replenishing your ammo is just a waste and opportunity there. I'd rather probably just accept the cooldown and put something else like Eruption or Heat Wave with Burnt Out on so that I can get an additional 75% or even Ash Blast for a little bit of crowd control, and there's debuff options for those mods as well. So there's a lot of flexibility for a hybrid build. And what I found is that I felt quite strong with my Volcanic rounds with this build, but I also felt that my Thermal Bomb, compared to other full Anomaly builds, hit pretty hard on its own too. So I think with the right amount of experimentation, though Reforged isn't good, if you take how you would build Reforged, get rid of it, use 3 epic pieces instead, with more control over tier 2 mods like Stand Tall and other ones that people just don't really sample and mess around with because they're hybrid options, it could be really great. So the mod itself doesn't do much for you. The 3-piece bonus doesn't do much for you. But if you take what they try to teach you and use those 3 abilities and those skills, you might make something absolutely amazing because you'll have more freedom with an epic set. So it's not great. I would say pass. It can do T15 solos. It's not even that bad because of Thermal Bomb debuff capabilities for squads or trios or duos. But it is what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe it got you guys thinking about the possibility of a hybrid build where your gun can get in there and just start doing a lot of damage. Your abilities can do a lot of damage. And Pyro is one of the few classes, I think, that can really pull off a hybrid build. So how would you do it, guys? Thanks again for the love. Leave a like if you can. Catch you with another one soon.